One of the central villains of Ninjago's sequel series, Dragon's Rising, Lord Ras, is absolutely fascinating to me. Within the first 30 Dragon's Rising episodes we've had so far as of making this video, Lord Ras has proven himself as an absolutely all-timer Ninjago villain. This is a character I absolutely love and I've just been itching for the opportunity to talk about, so this is that video. I just want to start real quick by saying that the presentation of Ras as a character is absolutely impeccable. So many times when a TV show or movie tries to pull off a humanoid animal, the character is basically just a person with an animal head. Other than that, you could change them to being a regular human and nothing would change about them. Which is well and truly not the case with Lord Ras. It's very clear that the animators, voice actors, and writers of Dragon's Rising have all come together to do the absolute best job they possibly can at selling to us that Lord Ras is an evil walking tiger. For example, in the more intense moments of Dragon's Rising, Ras will just start running on all fours. Ras will also just randomly start growling and snorting like a real tiger would in between his sentences.
The forest of spirits.
On top of all that, Lord Ras canonically shares traits with actual real-life tigers, such as natural night vision. All of this gives the character of Lord Ras such an animalistic vibe to him, which, when that character is a humanoid tiger, that's a really good vibe to be hitting. So the presentation of Lord Ras as a character is absolutely on point. But when it comes to writing a character, let alone a central villain, presentation is only going to get you so far. And thankfully, Lord Ras is not just a polished turd. There are things to this character beyond just having a cool design and voice. Going into the first episodes of Dragon's Rising, I was very much expecting Lord Ras's role in the story to be a kind of Darth Vader role, where he's a brutish evil servant to the true mastermind behind everything, Empress Beatrix. Season 1, however, threw me for a loop. Lord Ras is, if anything, the scariest parts of Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine combined into one character. It becomes apparent throughout that first season that Lord Ras is a spectacular manipulator, and the true mastermind behind the events of everything in that season. Lord Ras goes around basically just acting like a parasite, finding weak and vulnerable people to leech off of and milk for everything they're worth. A great example of this is his first act of on-screen manipulation, where he leeches onto Beatrix, the daughter of Emperor Levo, and very easily convinces her to murder and overthrow her father. Ras picks up on the fact that Beatrix is very obviously insecure about her lack of power. Emperor Levo had two children, Beatrix and Beatrix. Beatrix was born with an elemental power, whereas Beatrix was not, leaving Beatrix to be borderline neglected by her father, who very obviously had picked a favorite. This led Beatrix to develop a very obvious inferiority complex over her lack of power, which is something that Lord Ras immediately picked up on and exploited. The way he's so easily able to steer the conversation towards Beatrix's insecurities here, so that he can convince her to throw away everything for him, is just deliciously evil.
And I imagine, as firstborn, Beatrix is also first in line to the throne?
Yes, she will become Empress, leaving me with nothing.
Such a waste of your true potential.
Doing this allows Ras to effectively use Beatrix and all of Imperium as a pawn, so that he can use the kingdom's resources to hunt source dragons and further his own plans. Which worked for a while until Empress Beatrix's unchecked ego ended up getting the best of her, as she ended up forsaking Lord Ras's help and ultimately got defeated by the ninja. But all was not lost for Ras here, as this whole Imperium thing led him to meeting his next recruit, Jordana. Jordana is Sora's self-proclaimed rival, whose defining trait is an absolutely desperate need to prove herself to the world, and feel seen by others. The other characters find her to be a generally forgettable and unremarkable person, which brings her an incredible amount of distress and anger. This insecurity and vulnerability in Jordana is something that Lord Ras instantly picks up on and exploits.
He'll never be as good as that cursed Anna.
No, you'll be better.
Promising her unlimited power and influence in the same way he did Beatrix, Ras gets Jordana onto his team. And I think some of Ras's interactions with Jordana are so telling about his character. Particularly this moment from episode 2 of Dragon's Rising's second season. Here, Jordana wastes a bunch of time gloating to Sora and the other ninja about how much better she is than everyone, only to have her ego once again crushed upon discovering that none of the ninja remember who she is.
What? I'm Jordana, your nemesis! You've been dreading our next encounter?
After this revelation, Jordana leans back on Ras to effectively show the ninja why she should be worthy of note, who uses the Gong of Shattering and sets Cinder upon the ninja. This is such an interesting moment to me, because without saying a single word, Ras let Jordana worsen her vulnerabilities and ego problem, and then once again positioned himself as the solution to her problems. My first impression of this scene was noting how patient Ras is with Jordana here, taking all the time he needs to let Jordana blow steam before once again turning to rely on him. I initially thought it was a really nice subversion to when villains usually tell their subordinates to just shut up and get on with it. Then I realized that Lord Ras has done exactly that before.
A real show!
Get on with it, duffer!
Remembering and comparing these two scenes made me realize that Ras is selectively patient. In Dorama's case, Dorama was not going to further Raz's plans at all. Dorama was only even there to do stuff for the Empress that Ras himself had no interest in. On top of that, Dorama is not the type of person Ras targets. Dorama is a man with very few insecurities and no real motivation outside of his messed up evil show business. He's not someone Ras can target with his very specific brand of manipulation, and therefore, he gets no time of day at all. Jordana, comparatively, Ras will let talk and waste all of the time she wants with no rush. Because Ras knows that Jordana is digging herself deeper and deeper into her own vulnerabilities in doing so, which makes it infinitely easier for Ras to exploit and use her to further his own goals. Realizing how patient Ras is with the people he's manipulating specifically makes his actions in Season 1 make a lot more sense. He spent all the time he did imprisoned in Imperium, despite being able to easily escape by calling for aid from his master, waiting for the Empress to come around and bring him back on board again. In that scene in episode 18 when the two talk and Ras calls her out on her own insecurities, he does this not out of spite for the Empress, even though he has a lot of that, but he does it to position himself as the solution to her problems and insecurities, in the same way that he subtly does to Jordana in Season 2. Lord Raz's model of manipulation is finding vulnerable people and highlighting their deepest insecurities, whether that be by just sitting back and letting them run their mouth and be humiliated, or by outright telling them that himself, and then positioning himself as the solution to all of their problems. A gateway to all of the strength and influence his recruits have ever desired. But why? Why does Ras manipulate people in this very specific way? Dragons Rising Season 2 Episode 9 gives us our answer by showing us Raz's origins. Ras was once a weak, defenseless, vulnerable child. One day he found himself stuck in a pit that he couldn't possibly escape from. He was too weak. Until his master found him. We know very little about this encounter, but we know Raz's takeaway from it. His master taught him what Ras now views as the most important principle of life: strength. It's a concept that Lord Ras absolutely idealizes to an insane, unhealthy degree. One that he was groomed into from childhood and is the defining factor of every single action he's taken in his entire life. Anything he can do that will bring him and his master more strength is something he will instantly jump onto. And knowing this, his method of finding weak and vulnerable people to manipulate into working for him, under the promise of receiving great strength, suddenly makes a whole lot of sense. Ras is good at manipulating people in this position of vulnerability because it's one that he's all too familiar with. One he views his master as having saved him from. This is such an interesting development that puts into perspective every single one of Raz's actions across Dragons Rising's first season and a half so excellently. It just does a spectacular job of deepening the character and opens up so many questions about Raz's character. Is there some part of him that thinks he's saving the people he's manipulating? If he knows what he's doing is manipulation, maybe does he deep down know he's been manipulated by his master? This development puts everything Ras has done in the show into perspective and provides us with a bunch of questions as to where his character's going in the future. Ras so far has been an absolutely spectacular villain for the Dragons Rising show, and one who I just can't get enough of. Thank you all so much for watching this video all the way through, and if you want to watch some more videos of mine, there'll be some cards on the screen now. And as always, I hope to see you in another video. Goodbye for now.